This morning, my daughter asked me, what's a rally? And I said, it's a bunch of people who care deeply about something who come together to stand up for it, and that's what we're doing here today. Every single one of us could have chosen not to come to here today. We have so many competing priorities, distractions, a million things that we could do, but for some reason, we each decided to be here. So why did we decide to show up? Often when I'm faced with a decision, big or small, like showing up today, I ask, what do I know for certain? And today we each showed up because of what we know for certain. We know that no one else is coming to protect our home, this place where we live, this ecology of which we are a part, which is under threat with Bill 23. We are the ones that need to protect this place. We know that we are facing intersecting crises, including environmental breakdown with climate change and biodiversity loss, and that we need to be doing much more, certainly not less, to protect our wetlands and our green spaces. This bill takes us backwards as it is a threat to democracy, the environment, and as we've heard, affordability and livability for Ontarians. We know that our city and other cities and communities deserve to make our own local decisions on land use planning, including the extent of our urban boundary. We deserve to protect ourselves from the worst excesses of urban sprawl in the context of this climate emergency that we are living in. More sprawl means more driving, it means less community, more greenhouse gas emissions, further exacerbating climate change. We know that our cherished wetlands, forests, urban parks, and other green spaces are irreplaceable, and they're vital to our physical and mental health, reducing flooding, reducing overheating, as well as for their own inherent value. Changing how wetlands are evaluated and protected, as this bill does, will leave many of our green spaces at risk of losing their designation and their protection. We know that it would be environmentally disastrous for Ontario to attack its conservation authorities, whom the province has benefited from for decades now. Their meaningful approach to decision-making, on planning, based not on political boundaries, but instead on the whole watershed perspective, is the hallmark of their conservation work, protecting ecosystems and habitats on a regional scale rather than on a piecemeal basis. We know that our agricultural lands are integral to food security and a thriving local food system. And we know that in the context of Ottawa's declared climate emergency, removing green building standards enacted by cities across the province is environmentally risky, and they must be reinstated if we're going to reach our climate targets. We know that when we face intersecting crises as formidable as those that we are confronted with, our solutions also need to be interconnected, and that meeting housing needs could be an opportunity to address affordability and accessibility. We could improve energy efficiency. We could build green infrastructure and community gardens. We could create these 15-minute neighborhoods that are thriving and green spaces flourishing. Lastly, we know that there are other groups just like us gathering all across the province in our public spaces to protest Bill 23, and that we are connected to each of them in our resistance here today. We know that if each of us shows up and then tells other people in our lives about why we are rejecting this and what we're fighting for, will inspire others and influence them so that this movement can grow. It is not just what we know that brought us here today, but it's also what we feel. A feeling of deep, deep love for this ecology that we call home, a feeling of injustice and anger and disbelief that it can just be so recklessly eroded, and a feeling that no matter how this turns out, this home that we love so, so much is worth fighting for.